Okay, so we are live. Let me check if there is anyone in the queue.
My friend is with me, guys. Sorry, but I have the puppy around me, and he just asked me to just touch him.
Yeah, no worries. I see. Yeah, I think the people are coming in, so let's give them a few more moments. Yeah. Anyway, it's gonna be about IoT, right, guys? Or we'll have some time to talk about the
But
private.
if you have any other questions, not only related to IoT, probably we'll answer as well.
I have plenty of questions, Sebastian. The question is if the audience is able to withstand it. So. No, let's give it one more minute, 2 more minutes, and then we go. It's usually the start, which is a bit hectic. When I watch podcasts, I mean, people are a bit late from the previous meeting, so usually the startup phase is up to 5 minutes. But to be honest, I don't care. So yeah, we'll see. So
In my life as well, using StreamYard. However, as a guest, I don't see number of participants. I only see the live, the timer, and the sit. And I see as well comments, because probably we can comment that information for people who already join us. There is a place to put some comments. We'll try to answer.
Yeah.
Sebastian, don't worry. It is only 3 of us.
I hope so. I hope so. That is the most, convenient way to speak among 3 for those 3 who are taking part of the meeting.
It's always the same thing. I mean, the posh level is very limited to the number of people, so they don't care about the statistic. It's like in our case, we don't care about the statistic, do we? Oh, we'll see. Not sure if there is anyone apart from us, but once again, we are recorded and streamed online on YouTube as well as bbc.co.uk. If it doesn't work this time, hopefully it will work out next time. I'll make sure with Marcin to set it up correctly. But well, I'm just playing. Okay, I'm just playing because we have friends in BBC, so I presume that it would work. But yeah, we'll see.
But but I think that you heard about the big affair in the Polish, Senate, that they just had a meeting, and this meeting was transmitted directly. It was probably, I don't know which kind of party, social democracies or I don't know how to say Lewica in English. They had a meeting, quiet, secret, among certain number of people, and finally they got notes that all of the discussion was transmitted directly to the external monitors.
No, I haven't seen this one. I've seen the guy from Ireland doing the speech, but nobody understood him. Or a Scottish person, I think was it?
It was dedicated speech for Scottish colleagues.
Yeah, it was funny because even the ChatGPT, was it ChatGPT? Yeah, ChatGPT even them didn't recognize the English type. But anyway, I think that the stats are growing. But anyway, we will start. And once again, this stream will be available online on YouTube as well as bbc.co.uk. Marcin, I see that you are here. So if the BBC is not reactive, let's fix it for the next webinar. So yeah, let's start. I think the time is money. So hi everyone and welcome. Honestly, I've been waiting for this today's session for a long time, and I'm quite excited about it. I'm Dariusz Chiliński, and I'll be moderating today's chat. A quick bit about me. I'm with Rite NRG, the software consulting company with bases in Sweden and Poland. And I'm really thrilled to kick off these webinars as a prelude to highly anticipated technology of tomorrow event in September, where one of our main goals is to spotlight the brilliant minds shaping the tech landscape in Poland. So here we are, and let's move to the heart of today's session. I'm really excited to introduce to you incredible individuals, Łukasz Bałczewski from IDEMIA or IDEMIA, and Sebastian Grabowski from Orange or Orange. Guys, would you please share some insights about your background, starting off my left, which is Łukasz?
Hi, everyone. So I work with IDEMIA Poland. I've been working for a couple of years now. I'm responsible for, I'm the product manager, responsible for M2M, so machine-to-machine and IoT systems. That is the server side of things, and we do the whole R&D here in Poland, in Łódź. We have a very big R&D center, and obviously the company is global. So that's one of our offices and R&D centers. Connectivity, which I'm a part of, is just one leg. The other ones are payments, all related to payments, and the other ones is identity, biometrics, and these kind of products and services.
So
Thanks,
Sebastian
Łukasz.
Grabowski, it's my turn, yes?
Yeah, it's
Or
your
you want to
turn.
ask but you want to ask Łukasz about something else?
I wanted just to mention that IDEMIA is the French company which is having the branch in office, who is pretty much developing almost everything from the R&D perspective. But yeah, this is the strong position of IDEMIA in Poland, located in Łódź. So just passing the voice to you, Sebastian.
I'm as well in the French company, Orange Business. I think that for many, Orange Business Europe means nothing and always will connect it with Orange Poland. However, Orange Business Europe is not Orange Poland. There is separate entity, separate business, which is responsible for integration. Mainly for integration. I've been working for Orange for more than 23 years. I spent a lot of years in Poland when I was responsible for many different domains in Orange Poland. My two, probably the most important for the discussion, is that I managed the R&D Center Orange Innovations, R&D Orange Poland, for a long time. And within this domain, I was responsible mainly for innovations, for startups, for innovative cases that could be implemented among Orange services. And in fact, past 4 or 5 years, I was responsible for creating from the scratch business around IoT, around industry and smart city. And in the meantime, I as well managed the whole M2M domain in Orange Poland. So this domain is quite, familiar with my experience. When Łukasz mentioned about the M2M, machine-to-machine communication, Orange is still a leader around this domain in Poland. It means that Orange Poland sells majority of the cards on the Polish market, probably 43 or 42% of the market share belongs to Orange Poland, not Orange Business Europe. And last 3 years, I'm working in the technical consulting Europe. I joined a team which is responsible for guiding, for consultancy, for advising to our big brands that Orange supports, around IoT, connectivity as well, and industry. Industry 4.0, one of the most famous brands worldwide. So I'm doing more or less the same I did in Poland, however, much more close to the client, mainly guiding them through different, I don't know how to say issues, not problems, because there are mainly issues we try to solve. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sebastian. I'm quite confused about your experience, 25 years, since we're pretty much the same age, but I presume that you started quite early.
Yes, because I'm 25 years old, that's why you completely right. I started just after when I finished 2 years, 2 years, I immediately after joined Orange.
Well, that's
Pampers, with Pampers, with Pampers.
Yeah, I can imagine it was a tough time. All right, guys, thanks for the introduction. It's going to be quite interesting. My aim for this discussion is not only limit ourselves to the discussions around the business areas where we are in, but also to touch the IoT aspects from our end user perspective. some kind of private ones. So I think this is where the majority of the interesting knowledge and the use case will come up. So my idea for this discussion is to touch base on the three aspects of the IoT related to the technology we know from the past, present, and slightly talk about our projection about the next 5-10 years. For those who don't know, the IoT, it's all about the massive amount of the products that are part of the IoT infrastructure. Majority are high complexity software driven, like cars, wearables, Industry 4.0. So happy to discuss this today. Hopefully we'll have enough time to cover at least the majority of the aspects. So I think that we can start. I've been thinking about the first question for this webinar, and like it was partially mentioned already in the headlights on LinkedIn. I just would like you to share your thoughts about the market evolution. So how IoT market has changed in recent years, and which events caused the most disruption. So I'll just pass the voice to Łukasz just to hear your thoughts on this aspect.
Okay, so first of all, just before I answer this question, when we will be talking about IoT today. We will mostly be focusing on like cellular IoT connectivity, because IoT machine-to-machine communication can be done on a various types of levels, protocols, and so on, connectivity types. So you can think of devices communicating with each other via Bluetooth, via Zigbee networks, via Wi-Fi even, right? These are local connections that you can establish at your home office and so on. But also you have the other side of things, more professional, more industry driven, not so much consumer, which is the cellular IoT part. So let's focus on that. And in reply to your question, the biggest change for me was the change from the physical SIM to the digital SIM. So in the past, some of you may remember, devices, mobile phones were tied to a particular operator. So when you wanted to swap an operator, you also had to swap the device. Then some smart person came up and said, why don't we decouple the device and this identity module, this chip? So then the SIM came, as we know today. So this is first. This was one of the first big changes that affected not only consumer but also IoT devices. This enabled the device manufacturers to approach different carriers.
But this is like the main like impact on the what IDEMIA is doing from the, like, when you look back like 5 years ago.
So this was a big change, say a couple of years ago. Probably we were still in high school. The next big thing was to change the physical identity module to a digital one. You may have heard of eSIM. eSIM is essentially a way to dispose of physical SIM. Instead of swapping an operator and having to go to a kiosk or a supermarket or to any mobile network operator premises to get a new SIM card, you can do it remotely. So you can sit in front of your laptop and you can download the contents for the SIM just by the internet. So this is the biggest change that is coming, that actually has arrived in IoT a few years ago. And what IDEMIA is doing is we are providing all the backend systems that are necessary for the mobile network operator, as well as the device manufacturer, because you need to take account both factors. One has one manages the connectivity, the subscription, the other one manages the device itself. So we provide the whole backend systems for these eSIM contents to be provided to the device.
And this is done by the team in Poland, in Łódź?
Yes, so everything we do from the service side is being developed here locally in Łódź. We have a bunch of teams that develop for the machine-to-machine market. So let's call it M2M/IoT. And this is under my umbrella. And we have a second team which develops server side of things for the consumer devices. So everything wearable, everything mobile phone related. These are two completely from the platform side. These are two separate ecosystems.
All right.
And not only this is not only due to our choice. This is a industry standard division that it has been made.
You mean global standard?
Right.
Okay. Sebastian, how does it look on your end then, from the Orange perspective or from private area?
I think I would speak about some paths and as well some perception which are more or less connected with Łukasz, with Łukasz perception, because as you can imagine, Orange does everything what you can, whatever you can imagine is connected with Orange as a telecom, one of the biggest brands worldwide, that we are doing a lot, which is connected with connectivity as well. Probably we are the best partner, probably client as well of IDEMIA. I'm not so sure, however, because there are not so many this kind of companies worldwide which are doing this kind of stuff, which is probably dedicated for operators who are finally deliver the service to the end customer. About the IoT and M2M, mainly about the IoT, I'm so happy to be the part of this discussion, because the problem with IoT is that connectivity is not visible. All time we speak about the services, we are just showing application, we are showing the use case. It is like with iPhone. Try to imagine, or I think that that iPhone is the one of the most massive adoption of eSIM. People are using eSIM and they don't know about it. They are just buying the smartphone at the shop and they are going to the house and they are just using it. And that is exactly what eSIM is about. And that is the one perception. It means that the companies like iPhone, or like we call them OTT providers, who are just providing some services on top of the internet, they are completely, they are completely hidden the connectivity. And when you are speaking or when you are describing this, let's call it B2C market, connectivity and the quality is not the most important thing you have to remember, because people just focusing on the quality of the smartphone, let's call it a sexy approach around different applications. They are focusing on the services which are available through the smartphone. So when you are touching OTT, sorry.
So what are the challenges when it comes to the connectivity? What's the biggest problem from the user perspective?
Connectivity, Dariusz, carries mainly quality, SLA, service level agreement. And when you are providing services for the big companies like automotive, like energy, like cities, etc., you should remember that this service should consist very often quality, service level agreement. Because when you try to imagine that you are a water works company, you should issue the invoice to your end customer, to the resident. You should be sure that at least one a month you will have the measurements that finally, based on this measurements, you will issue the invoice. It means that you should be sure that you will get these measurements about the consumption of the energy, consumption of the water, consumption of the heat. You should have it. That is as well like with automotive industry. When you have a car and this car is moving, you should be sure that e-call will work in case of an accident. You should be sure. You should be sure, however, the sureness should be connected with SLA. It means that operator, the company which is delivering a service, give you this SLA. Probably this company will pay for it, but as you know, this payment for security in general. That's why for all of us, especially in this domain, it is something like mission to speak about the connectivity, because people forget about it, people don't care about it. That we should take about it to speak that connectivity, machine to machine communication, IoT is always connected with certain technology which is responsible for connection, like 2G, 4G, 5G, LoRa, Sigfox, or as Łukasz mentioned, Z-Wave, Zigbee, and the Wi-Fi, NFC, RFID. There are a bunch of different connectivities which are used to provide IoT service. That what I see is that people started to forget about the quality of the connection. If they forgot, they created big problem for providers of tools and connectivity in general, because the security is connected with costs on the telecom side, like telecom like Orange and others should pay for frequencies. They should pay billions,
But
they
this
should
is
pay
like,
for infrastructure, and
but
people
we,
don't understand that.
but you talk about the investments on the scale of on the range of the communication or the signal. But when we talk about the perspective from what has changed on the technological side versus, like, I don't know, 10 years ago versus now, what are the main highlights from your perspective?
I think that, to be honest, in IoT, IoT has at least two areas which change a lot. It is the size of the hardware. It means that the sensor 10 years ago was much more bigger than it is now. There is I think, big movement around miniaturization of the hardware. There's the first probably big movement. Second one, in fact, all of the equipment around IoT is now a little bit smaller than was 10 years ago. There's the first, let's call it, movement. The second part is as well the possibility or features connected with connectivity. It means that 10 years ago, we couldn't manage, for instance, device with some LPWAN features like LTM, like narrowband, we didn't know about it. It means that we couldn't manage the life of the battery. Now we can do it. It means that all of sensors, those small ones and those small sensors, don't need the power. The battery will last 10, 12, 15 years. It means that the service became very effective. That's the first big. On the other hand, people are crazy about measuring everything. All of big, for example, try to see that this big movement around ESG. There is a movement which, currently this movement focuses on the quality of the life, sustainable development, sustainable city. All of those verticals need measurements, because if we cannot measure, we cannot prove. If we cannot prove, we cannot develop in this, obvious direction. So those as well big movements are connected with IoT. This movement didn't exist 10 years ago,
So as a summary,
autonomous cars, as well, all automotive business. We didn't know how to manage autonomous cars 10 years ago. We had the lack of the knowledge, we had the lack of the connectivity, we had the lack of the technology,
Yeah. So this is actually good that you mentioned it. So I just would like to bring some use cases and just basically kind of counter check it with Łukasz perspective. So imagine how it was like 5 years ago when you decided to drive a car from UK down to Greece, and how the IoT infrastructure or the technology level supported end user 5-10 years ago, and how it is supported right now. Łukasz, are you able to comment on this use case a little bit?
Sure. So maybe 10 years ago would be a better timeline, as the eSIM specification came out more or less 10 years ago, and it was the IoT that was first, the M2M. So in the past days, from the automotive perspective, this is important to stress. If a car required connectivity, you had to plug in a SIM card, a physical SIM card, right? So if a car was delivered to Greece, then obviously an automotive manufacturer wanted to use a local connectivity. You wouldn't want to use roaming for the lifetime of the car while the car was in another country. So you had to switch the SIM card. So that's from the automotive perspective. Likewise, from the consumer perspective, so from the driver's perspective, if you had a connectivity, consumer connectivity enabled in your car, if it was a high-end car, and you traveled to Greece, you had to pay, or the automotive manufacturer, depending obviously on the contract, had to pay for that in roaming. So the switch to a local carrier was almost impossible or very expensive. So then the eSIM came, and you can do it remotely. You can do it remotely using servers, the platforms. You can do it manually. You can trigger an operator switch at an instant for a particular car, or it can be done automatically. So taking your example, traveling to Greece, a shipping containers with electrical cars arrive in port in Greece. They've been manufactured overseas. So now when the cars are switched on in Greece, we receive a location notification because the car has logged into a cellular network in Greece for a Greek operator. We know what the Greek operator ID is, and our backend systems can, based on the predefined logic, they can trigger automatically a switch to a Greek provider, meaning the car manufacturer, almost at an instant when the car arrives at the port, can get local connectivity and disable this initial roaming connectivity. They've said this saves them significant costs, roaming costs.
And this
so that would be an example of a movable IoT object with some automated logic behind, and this is enabled mainly by eSIM.
Mm-hmm. And how does it? What does it have to do with the change of the operator, for instance? Okay, right now we have an eSIM, so there is a kind of flexibility of moving from one to another. But how it was sorted, 10 years ago?
So this initial approach to eSIM in IoT M2M, as it was drafted 10 years ago, focuses on security. It was done using knowledge from way long time ago. It works, it's proven, it's reliable, but in a really fast-paced world, it's not flexible enough. So in order to have a global coverage for an automotive manufacturer, they would need to integrate their backend systems with almost every mobile network operator, which is ridiculous, or very, very, very expensive. We haven't seen that happen. So it's if you look at the costs, it's almost impossible. The technology is there,
but Łukasz, sorry for interfering, but you can as well use, for instance, roaming agreements. That one, this cost will be significantly lower, and the operator will provide you the roaming agreement. It means that you will still have one SIM card inside, and you have almost those features the same like with eSIM.
Yes, but sometimes in certain countries, like permanent roaming is not possible, as you know.
Yeah,
So in
yeah,
these
right.
situations, you are obliged by law to use local connectivity.
Yeah, you are right.
So there has been a change made by a group of by working groups of mobile network operators, OEMs, the big players of the world, or platform suppliers like IDEMIA, that came up with a fairly lightweight solution to the IoT topic, where this hassle with integrating backend systems, servers, and God knows what else, connectivity platforms, has been very much reduced. So a new wave of, obviously this is, as Sebastian said, this is invisible, almost invisible to the end user of the IoT device or a car, but there is a lot of going on in the backend side of things, and now it will be reduced. The effort will be reduced for everybody. So for the carrier, for the mobile network operator, and the manufacturer of the device, which will mean we significantly open up the market. So we open up the market for the mobile operator, meaning they can provide their services globally. And for the device manufacturers, they can sell almost everywhere.
But does it also mean that, like, for Europe, we could have a new operator coming from, I don't know, South America, bidding for the business in Europe and using this system?
Yes, well, you can do that now. It doesn't change a lot, but in order to have automated systems, you need to connect them, integrate them in the backend. This is a lot of work and a lot of hassle. Whereas now it will be really, really lightweight.
Okay, this is quite
So,
interesting.
say a simple example. Say you are a smart metering company. You provide electricity meters, or I don't know, water meters, gas meters, whatever. You will be obliged at some stage, if not already, to have these smart meters connected and reporting live data. So you need most likely cellular connectivity. So now, still that is the case now in a lot of cases. You contract connectivity with one of the providers, with cellular connectivity providers. You plug in the SIM card, live happily for a few years, and then you wake up and the contract is about to expire. What happens is the cost to change an operator is significant, meaning you physically have to go and swap the card, which is a lot. This means that in order to extend the subscription, obviously it will be way more than the initial bid. So now with eSIM, you don't need that physical interaction. You can do it remotely, and you can do it very easily, as there are almost no integrations in the new world of IoT from the backend system perspective.
So it means that it was quite lucrative market in the past and before the eSIM entered.
Of course.
For Orange,
I'm not so sure, guys. I'm not so sure, honestly speaking. I'm not so sure because I know a lot about this business because, in fact, my team, my sales team and marketing team, they were responsible to selling this product in Poland. And as you said, the lucrative business is that all of those, let's call them energy company, they figure out how to challenge operators. Very, it was not like the challenge, it was hard challenge and big fight among operators to get the contract. And finally, the prices were very, very slow, very low prices of the service, with this kind of duty to be responsible for the SLA. It means that now we are speaking only about the SIM cards and connectivity. However, to provide the connectivity, people, forget that the infrastructure costs billions each antenna, and equipment around cost billions, and operator as the telecom. I'm not speaking about my current role. It was my, former role. And the problem is that the perception of the service is so simple. People don't see the service. They only see the module, the meter, or I don't know, the smartphone. But behind of the equipment, you should invest billions. That's why a lot of, let's call them virtual operators, they appeared on the market, European market, Polish market, and majority of them failed because they couldn't invest a lot to create the perception of the brand. In the meantime, to invest in the infrastructure, maintain the infrastructure. Try to imagine that approximately the mobile, the mobile size of the T-Mobile or a Plus or the mobile part from Orange Poland is something like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 of people. It means that you should just keep 4,000 of people, monthly, and those people are responsible for the infrastructure. It is, of course, the marketing, sales, but majority of them, they are working in the technical domain, in the technical ground. It costs billions again. That the service cannot be cheap, to be honest. In Poland, we created the perception that telecommunication service should be cheap. And this created a lot of problems because operators don't have money to invest, That's why some of the big waves were just stopped, because operators should invest billions in infrastructure.
But does it mean then, Sebastian, that with the market of the more and more IoT devices plugged in, meaning that you have from the other side the bandwidth have to be bigger, which would somehow imply the biggest infrastructure, but then the amount of the devices will kind of compensate the global costs and the investment? Is it proper logic?
There are a lot of different angles, which are responsible for, which impact the whole telecom infrastructure.
I know, but let's bring, because I think it's an interesting topic. So let's bring you have Industry 4.0. You let's talk about agriculture, which is also growing, retail, healthcare. All of those segments will grow in terms of the amount of the devices. So, meaning that if you have the current infrastructure, which is already paid and is extremely expensive, does it mean that those huge amount of the new devices coming up to the market, will it decrease the usage per device? Or
it should decrease.
Exactly. So then the companies like Orange or any others, they will not complain about the high cost of the infrastructure anymore.
They should invest. However, they should invest, but they will calculate as well a price for the access. It's normal as a service. However, what I think should be mentioned, during the discussion about the cost, we have to remember that, try to imagine, telecoms, it is my opinion, always try to predict. That is the way of living of all of telecoms worldwide. We should predict what's going to be, what are the trends. That's why operators, together with researchers, created 5G. 5G, in many cases, addresses this kind of verticals like number of devices, high bandwidth, small latency to manage those devices. However, to introduce 5G network, operators should pay for licenses and for the infrastructure. And they believe, because in my opinion, it's hard to measure the benefits from 5G. It's my personal opinion. Because for the common people, 5G brings, I don't know what, better bandwidth, but who needs, who need it? Netflix and other services work perfectly with 4G, That's why mainly from business that telecoms, believe that the 5G will address at least two problems, which are going to happen in the moment. Number of devices. That's why 5G prepared the network to be much more bigger to, that you can just connect it and that's it. Because you have much more sensors per meter, which could be handled by the network. That's the first part. And second one, researchers around, the telecom network, they predicted that probably the number of the services which are using streaming and video will be so popular. That's why there is highest, this bigger bandwidth or highest bandwidth, etc., wider bandwidth, and the capacity as well. That's why we believe that 5G will help provide services on the certain level of as well quality.
Okay, this is quite interesting. I thought that it would be a little bit from the other perspective. So meaning that more devices, it's like in automotive. When you have a high volume production, then you lower automatically the costs. So I presume that the same logic would apply here. But then from the other side, you need to reinvest in the infrastructure for the 5G from the 4 to 5G.
We should start investments, and to be honest, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know.
Yeah. Guys,
there's one thing more, if I may, since you mentioned cost and predictions from the MNO perspective, which is tricky, right? And the number of devices. There's one thing that we didn't touch on is, and I will come back to eSIM because this is an enabler to having more devices. Imagine you are building. I like to talk examples, as you already are aware. Imagine you own a building and you have these smoke alarms, you have these light curtains, you have some other systems that use SIMs inside, and some of these devices use small SIMs, so these nano SIMs. Some of them are a little bit older; they use the bigger ones. Some use eSIM. So you need different physical SIM cards inside. And now from the operator perspective, you need to anticipate, you need to predict how many of these SIMs and of which type you need to manufacture. Crazy, right? When you have eSIM, you have just one single SKU, like stock keeping unit, and it's digital. So, and moreover, you don't need to manufacture thousands of them. You can manufacture them digitally as you go. So if you need one, if a device needs to download one, we create one for you at an instant. So this greatly reduces logistics costs, and also from the OEM perspective. So the companies that manufacture these sensors, they just have a chip on their devices, one chip.
Yeah, this is what I expected, that this is going to be a quite huge spectrum of the topics, and I think we are in the middle of the discussions already. What is it, passing 43 minutes of the stream, and we have one question which is coming from the, I don't know if I pronounce Church H. What do you expect will be the impact of LEO entering FWA and IoT? Any one of you can answer the question?
To be honest, I don't know what LEO means. There's the company, there is a brand.
I know. I think I know. This means low Earth orbit satellites, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
If this is so, then funny, I was scratching my head last week with a bunch of colleagues around that topic, how the Starlink or other type of low Earth orbit constellations will impact IoT. And I think we will live in a hybrid model somewhere, at least for the next years to come. So we will have direct satellite connectivity coupled with ground stations or 5G, as Sebastian said, IoT capable networks, and we will have hybrids or dedicated solutions tailored towards some deployments.
Maybe I can add as well something to what you said already, Łukasz. It's my personal point of view. Please remember it, write it down. It's my personal perception. I erased, I just changed my background because I improved the quality, by the way, guys. So I'm much more accurate. Answering this question, I don't believe in it, It is like try to imagine that people love to don't pay for the service. That's my perception. Sorry for saying that, but people don't want to pay for the service. That's why a lot of different companies paid a lot to create LoRa standard. You should be remember that now all of telecoms, for Orange Business Europe, we are working with LoRa and we are working with, let's call it telecom connectivity. We are agnostic, honestly speaking. We are speaking about the use cases, and you know that what kind of connectivity will solve a pain of our customers. However, satellite connectivity should cost. And the fight about IoT customers is the fight mainly around the price. That's why everybody is just trying to decrease the price of the chipset, decrease the price of the connectivity, decrease the price of the application. Everything around this ecosystem, which impacts the price, that price is higher, I think has big potential risk of unsuccessful story. That satellites, yes, probably as a rare service, which solve some of the problem where LoRa doesn't exist, when there is no any telecom network, where there is no any roaming, probably service provider, etc. In that cases, yes, satellites probably now. I don't know what's going to be in 20 years, but for next 5, 6, for sure, it will be rather rare service using for some rare cases,
This is from the market business perspective. Every time there is an increase on the competition, there's a slight turbulence within the companies that already exist on the market. So even though they are fresh, I wouldn't underestimate the potential behind it. I understood that it's costly, and your logic is quite straightforward. But from the business perspective, I presume that they will make some noise, and that might also push the current providers to the totally different perspective. But guys, we are running out of the time, and I think that there is a still very important topic to be discussed about where the Poland is standing in terms of the technological innovations. I know that the development of the IoT in terms of tools and the product creation is based entirely on the technological thought. But how do we stand on this ground versus within the international scale? I will maybe pass this question to Łukasz.
It will be of no surprise if I say that we are technically really good locally, speaking about the Polish market. This is probably, we could talk for hours probably, why is that? Our developers, people within the technology are always on the top whenever there is any IT technology competition out there. So that's a no-brainer. I think that moving forward, trying to predict what is needed, what I would like to see is, there is this T-shaped model of knowledge. So you are horizontally fairly knowledgeable on the majority of technologies you work in, but you are an expert in one, hence the T-shaped, and hence the letter T. But that is only technology. And I think that if we want to progress further, if we want to be perceived not only as good coders, providers of code, of solutions, we need more business exposure. Everybody that works, the whole teams that work within IT should work closer to business, to understand it, to understand what is required by the market, and that would translate to better products.
So what you're saying is that like the Polish IT scene is detached from the business perspective, so meaning that we are more operating as a kind of execution team.
I'm not saying we are detached, obviously not. There are a lot of companies that they are out there storming the world, which is great to see. However, if you look around outside of our borders, the top companies out there that have been started up from scratch and then progressed to these unicorns of the world were done outside of our borders. And there are a lot of examples like that. We could debate again, why is that? But my personal opinion is it comes down to understanding the business.
Okay.
We should get more products done for ourselves and get it out.
Well, this is kind of very interesting assumption. From one perspective, I say it from my end that we are quite well recognizable as a tech leads and a tech specialist, especially when you dived into the McKinsey or Gartner reports available online for everyone. The true thing is that it's difficult for us as a Poles to, like you mentioned, understand the business vision, but also back it up with the solid experience. And this is something which Poland has to still work on. And before we finish, still, Sebastian, I have a question to you from the Orange perspective, Orange Business. What are the aspects that the Polish technical brains has to improve over the next years, so that, like politicians already say, that we are Silicon Valley of Europe, but what exactly is still missing from your perspective? If you could
I
just
have some
share.
gaps around this Polish Silicon Valley because I think that I can divide it, into areas. The first one are people, and we have excellent people. And the second part is the investments and the ecosystem of the business. Silicon Valley, had those silos at the same time, and they were connected by money, a lot of money. In Poland, it doesn't look like that, for sure. On the other hand, we are so famous worldwide about Polish, developers, coders. However, now this big wave of change is coming, like using low code, using ChatGPT for developing the code. It means that we're gonna have a problem in the moment because a lot of IT companies, work like a bad leasing company, especially for IT. They are only, performing some work which is just cheaper. And that is as well our problem, that we have a problem to create innovative ecosystem. Years ago, I tried to understand how other countries did, like Israel, what is amazing in US, even in Scandinavia, how they organize the business around. Because that is this kind of connection between universities, business people, young people, students, teenagers, etc. This ecosystem should be very stable, that we can say, okay, guys, we have the innovative, and we could be the Silicon Valley. On the other hand, I think that we are nowhere like in Poland. With that, we are nowhere. Even when we look among politicians, how many engineers we have among Polish Senate? Try to assess it. How many engineers we have there? How they will, support this kind of technology wave if they don't understand it? I'm quite involved in the smart city domain in Poland, and believe me, I can really count using one hand mayors in Poland who understand the technology. One hand. I know them more than hundreds even, because my channel Miasto Miasto and my, the social recognition is connected with the foundation I managed, as well with many projects I did in Poland. And believe me, we have a problem with, I call it technology imagination. We don't understand what kind of benefit could be bring to Poland together with the technology. We treat rather ourselves we can sell our competencies, we can go abroad, because the ecosystem, like taxes, like the support from the government, like the strong companies around us are not here, are not here. Decision makers of those big brands, they are not in Poland, unfortunately.
So
However, sorry for that. Yes, sorry, because I'm just good. I'm just delivering big monologue.
And that's the reason why I'm stepping in. Well, the thing is, I know that everything is potentially located with the government policies and the way the whole structure or the system is structured. But from the other side, we do not have to wait for the policies to change on the politics side. I mean, there are a lot of initiatives like non-profit organizations, like there has been recently quite big news about Rafał Brzuska from the Impost setting up something like, I don't remember the name of it, but what I'm saying is that a lot of alternative associates or initiatives which are boosting the technology awareness over the Poland. So I would challenge your assumption that we are far behind. But actually, that's the point of the whole discussion, isn't it?
Marek, we love heroes. We have only Brzuska. Sorry for saying that, but he's selling very simple product, metal box with some software inside. Sorry for saying, but this very simple product, and he started his journey competing with the biggest Polish office, big, elephant on the Polish market. However, try to find others big unicorns in Poland. How many we have? 2, 3, 1? That is as well the problem. And finally, when you try to set up the company in Poland, and you are looking about taxes, about the support, about others, let's call it officials around you, you will meet a lot of cases, problems, issues to overcome. Yeah. And there are as well a lot of pitfalls that saw now the case of Web 3.0 and blockchain cases. Those, companies are moving out of Poland, as far as possible. Yeah. Singapore, Dubai, Estonia, because in Poland there is no great conditions to provide very innovative and growing business. Yes,
it's a challenge. 100% right on this, and I know that Marcin Rzetecki, who is the founder of the Technology of Tomorrow, one of the policy, or I'm not saying maybe the policy is the wrong word, but one of the targets which is standing behind Technology of Tomorrow is to promote the knowledge, but also promote different business setup, like you mentioned, something which is existing in another constellation on this earth. And for one of those reasons, the Technology of Tomorrow or those webinars are here to promote the knowledge, to show that there are technical guys like you guys that are changing the world within your areas, within your parameters. It's very interesting discussion. I presume that on some of those topics we can continue to discuss in indefinite, but like somebody says, time is money. So I think we will be approaching towards the end of the webinar. Not sure if Sebastian, Łukasz, you have anything else to mention or top it up based on what we discussed?
From my side, nothing to add. I have just my puppy because he attacked me a lot. That's why I just take him with me.
That's potentially maybe he doesn't agree with your assumptions.
Yes, for sure. And he's still attacking me. That is the big incentive working from home, that my puppy is around me, unfortunately.
That's the way it is. Yeah, correct. Łukasz, anything from your side?
Well, I just wished we had 3 hours more, as the IoT topic in general is so broad that you can approach it from so many angles. Yeah. And try to digest what's happening, what the change has been, and let's see what the next years will bring. I'm super excited.
The change is inevitable for sure, and either we're gonna be part of it or not. But from the perspective of the Polish mindset and the hunger of the knowledge and a lot of aspiration, I think we're gonna be there. So to the people that are watching us right now or will watch in the future, since the video will be loaded on YouTube, please keep in mind that Technology of Tomorrow event is set up for September this year, and I presume the next month we will also hear each other, most likely about the digital cities with some of the blogs from UK. We are still organizing it, but anyway, thanks a lot for today. It's interesting intro for the discussion. Thank you guys for this. Thank you for your time and your knowledge, and keep it up, keep it strong. All the best.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.